Hello, my name is Dara Adegbola. Welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel. The idea of leaning too far toward one side of a spectrum, particularly in human development, is common across various domains such as economic development, human rights, and national sovereignty. Now, throughout history, progress often comes from efforts to overcome specific challenges or inequalities. However, there is a noticeable tendency to swing too far to the opposite side of the spectrum in our pursuit for balance, which can lead to unintended consequences. At its core, this tendency stems from a natural human inclination to seek solutions to problems by acting in contrast to whatever we perceive as the source of the issue. In doing so, we often unintentionally develop extreme views or behaviors, which, although initially intended to rectify a wrong, can create new issues that are just as detrimental. This phenomenon occurs where in societal or individual reactions to negative swing from one extreme to another without finding a stable middle ground. Rather than achieving a sustainable equilibrium, we risk creating new forms of problem as we overcompensate for the past wrong. Now, shortly before I continue, I just want to thank you all for watching this video and kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, back to the topic. Take identity issues for example. Consider a society where one group, let's call them identity A, has long dominated and another group, let's call them identity B, rises to challenge this dominance. Initially, identity B organizes campaigns to overcome the oppression and address the inequalities that have held them back. Now, their cause is just and their efforts are essential for promoting fairness. However, over time, as their movement grows in strength and momentum, the emotional intensity of their struggle may lead them to become intolerant or unyielding, losing focus of their original goal of equality. Now, in some instances, the oppressed groups become overly focused on defeating their oppressor, adopting some of the negative traits they once fought against. The goal that was once centered on achieving balance can become obscured by feelings of resentment or a desire for revenge. This kind of dynamic is visible in numerous historical contexts where groups or individuals fighting for justice or equality ended up adopting extreme or counterproductive tactics in their pursuit of change. I'll be giving two examples. A prime example of this can be in the anti-colonial struggles of the 20th century. For instance, Mahatma Gandhi in India led a movement of non-violent resistance against British colonial rule. And despite his unwavering commitment to peaceful protest, some of his followers, consumed by anger and frustration with the British occupation, resorted to violence. Now, Gandhi himself lamented this shift, recognizing that the very people fighting for freedom had in some cases adopted the violent method of their oppressors. Similarly, Nelson Mandela is often remembered for his commitment to peaceful resistance and his emphasis on reconciliation rather than revenge after decades of apartheid rule in South Africa. However, during his imprisonment, some of his supporters, driven by emotional outrage at the injustice they faced, took up violent means in the name of liberation. This reaction, while understandable given the extreme oppression they faced, risked undermining the very principles of unity and peaceful transition that Mandela championed. In both cases of Gandhi and Mandela's movement, the swing toward extreme emotional response by their followers exemplified how the struggles for justice can be derailed by loss of focus on core values. The tendency to swing from one extreme to the another is not confined to large-scale social movement. It also manifests in personal relationships, organization, or even workplace dynamic. Let's consider a group of friends or colleagues where one person, let's call this person A, has a negative or disruptive influence. The rest of the group, let's call them person B and C, may unite against person A, bonding over their shared desire to resist the negativity brought by A. While this collective effort might initially be empowering and necessary to restore balance within the group, it can over time morph into an unhealthy dynamic. Persons B and C, consumed with their distaste for person A, may begin to mirror the very behaviors they found problematic. For example, in their efforts to ostracize A, they might engage in gossip, passive-aggressive behaviors, or even exclusionary tactics, behaviors that are equally toxic. Now, instead of maintaining balance and promoting positive group dynamics, they lose themselves in the struggle of fighting against A and become what they initially opposed. Now, another example of this is in professional setting where an employee who feels marginalized or unfairly treated may begin to focus solely on opposing their superior or their management team. While their concerns may be legitimate, there is a risk that the approach will shift from advocating for a better work environment to a personal vendetta, potentially damaging their professional relationships and create a hostile atmosphere. Similarly, when people in relationship focus too much on fighting against perceived wrong, they may lose sight of the love, trust, and understanding they initially formed the foundation of their connection. When people focus too heavily on fighting against something or someone, they may unconsciously adopt the traits they were resisting, forgetting the larger purpose of their efforts, whether it's workplace politics, where colleagues engage in power struggles, or activist movements that drift away from their original ethos of fairness and justice. The risk is the same: losing sight of the core mission due to emotional overinvestment or an excessive focus on the opposition. Key lesson here is the importance of maintaining balance. When striving for positive change or fighting against negativity, it is crucial not to become too emotionally involved. While emotions like anger, frustration, or passion can be powerful motivators that spark action, they can also blind us to our core value or lead us down a path of excess. When we let anger or resentment take the reins, we risk losing the perspective necessary to achieve sustainable, meaningful progress. The energy required to overcome an injustice or challenge is considerable, but it must be directed to a measured and thoughtful way to avoid unintended consequences. In essence, it's crucial to be vigilant of the emotional intensity that accompanies efforts to create change. In our personal lives, when we feel wronged by someone, it's easy to become consumed by the desire to win the argument or prove them wrong. However, in doing so, we may lose sight of the importance of communication, empathy, and mutual respect. Similarly, in societal movement, when emotions run high, the focus on defeating an oppressor or overcoming injustice can lead to actions that are counterproductive, alienating potential allies or perpetuating cycles of harm. Thus, the overarching message is that when fighting for justice, equality, or personal growth, it's essential to avoid leaning too far toward any extreme, whether in social movement or personal relationship. Staying centered and avoiding excessive emotional involvement help us maintain our authenticity and achieve long-term success without losing ourselves in the struggle. Maintaining balance requires a commitment to introspection, humility, and a willingness to step back from the intensity of the moment to reflect on what truly matters. In doing so, we can ensure that our efforts remain aligned with our core values and avoid the pitfalls of extremism. Achieving balance in the face of conflict or injustice is not easy. It requires the ability to remain grounded even in the most challenging circumstances and to resist the pull of emotional extreme. Now, this does not mean we should suppress our emotions or disengage from the struggles we face. On the contrary, emotions like anger and passion can be powerful tools for change, but they might be tempered with wisdom, compassion, and a clear sense of purpose by keeping our eyes on the bigger picture and resisting the urge to swing too far in one direction. We can create a more sustainable, positive change in our lives and in the world around us by doing this. In conclusion, while fighting for justice, equality, or personal progress, it's vital to avoid extremes that can lead to unintended consequences. Key is to remain centered, grounded, and focused on the larger goal without becoming consumed by emotional overinvestment, whether in large-scale social movement, personal relationship, or professional setting. Maintaining a balanced perspective allows us to navigate challenges more effectively and achieve lasting, meaningful change. So that is all of my review of balancing on the two sides of the spectrum. I hope you enjoyed the video. Kindly like the video and kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. See you in my next video. Bye for now.